And then Ralph, let me ask you a question. Do you have like a radio mic? What do you use a headset?
I use a headset, yeah.
Do you like fiddle with your mic a lot when you're doing the podcast?
I try not to.
Like and adjust it. Let me ask you a question. Do you have like
somebody's got mic? The YouTube channel up? Because I can hear it. Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, I just muted it.
Okay. Yeah, I try.
Are we
not
live?
To. We're live. We're on the live stream. We got 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hey everybody for the live stream.
But so people can hear us before we
people
go
can
live?
Hear us, so they can hear like me testing the sound effects and doing stuff. Just went a little early.
We went from 2 to 4. Damn.
Wow.
Well, one of those is me.
Well, we have 3 now, so is that just the 3 of us?
So I'm gonna tweet it out one more time.
Man, is it so much to ask that just one of these days we get like 40 people at the same time? I feel like it never gets above 9.
It does a ton of listens though. It does like 200 listens, like in the next couple days, and even tonight it'll like when I check it right after the show, it'll have like 45, 50. So I don't know.
What is this trash? This challenge website has got ads all over the fucking place, and I can't even like X out of them. I can't even see the bottom of the bracket. I can't see anything below Stefan Anthony.
So all 4 of you in the live stream, this is the behind-the-scenes stuff that you get for. So
I think if you log in, Dave, you might avoid the ads and stuff.
Log in? I'm supposed to create an account for this shitty website?
I mean, I'm just saying you might get a better visual experience. You don't have to do it.
All right, I'm going to count us down and play the music. So
I'm a little disappointed that no one has an Italian last name in this bracket.
I can't play the.
Yeah.
It's because an Italian would never be a bust.
Wait, Spagnola. That's Italian, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do it. You got to do it.
We disown him.
All right, let's see.
He ate it Olive Garden too much.
Yeah, he does. Probably like, and he likes it.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Saints Happy Hour podcast, featuring Dave Cariello, Andrew Juge, Ralph Malbrough, and when he decides to show up, Kevin Held. We are the perfect blend of Saints sincerity and stupidity.
Ingram, my BF, took it to the house and finished it off with a nice little spinorama at the end. It was a thing of beauty.
Your pillow talk that evening must have been spectacular.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, I put that one on the spank bank.
Should we retry this?
You can't make Ralph do the ad again.
And now, here's your host, Ralph Malbrough.
All right, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour podcast. As always, we are sponsored by MyBookie. I get asked questions all the time about who to bet on and who to bet with. I don't always know who's going to win, but I know where to go. The answer is MyBookie. Between their live in-game betting, endless props, and fantasy sports wager, there's something for everyone with the best player perks in the sportsbook business. They've been good to us, and we know they'll be good to you. They're hooking up our listeners all month. Visit MyBookie.ag and use the promo code HAPPY25 when creating your account to claim a 50% bonus. Laying down 100, you now get an extra 50 to play. That's MyBookie.ag. Promo code HAPPY25. You play, you win, you get paid. Terms and restrictions apply. All right. Last week,
you get a solid B+ for that.
Solid B+. I got another ad later to butcher. So, listen, last week, me and Andrew did a show about Andrew saying Latavius Murray was going to bust, and generated a whole conversation on Twitter and between everybody on the show to where I decided let's do a Sean Payton bust bracket, and I sent the email around of 16 people to put in the tournament, and Andrew and Dave were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where is this guy? Where is that guy? Where is this? Where is that? And then we put it out to the people on Twitters, and they were like, where's this? Where's that? This thing blossomed. It's 32 teams, and it is a deep bracket of Sean Payton's worst decisions as Saints coach. This bracket, and me and Andrew have been super excited about it, but Dave, are you as excited as me and Andrew are for this bracket? We think it's magnificent.
It's, first of all, I'm not the history buff like you guys are, and so it's nice to have a bracket that's rooted in, purely the Sean Payton era, just so that I can remember everything. There's a lot of funny stuff on here, and it's, as we're going over everything, and you like put it all together, and we kind of discussed this like on via text or whatever. I don't know if there's another coach in the NFL who has this many I guess I would all put it under the category of drama. I think that might be a good word,
I just don't like who has been maybe like Belichick has been there about as long as Peyton has, a little bit longer, and maybe I would say who else?
Not Andy Reid.
Tomlin.
Yeah.
Tomlin, but I would say both of those guys, they don't have half the stories. Like when you go down this list, you're like, oh yeah, that happened. And oh man, I can't believe that happened. And like for a coach to be somewhere for 13 years, like you're going to build some stories. But when you look at them all in concert, you're like, how does Sean Payton still have a job?
How did they win? I texted, How did they win? We bitch and complain sometimes about how they haven't won multiple Lombardis. I look at this bracket and I think, how did they win one?
A game.
How did they win one Lombardi Trophy? It's amazing.
How did they escape conviction?
It's true. Like
a couple times they may not have.
People are fired up about this bracket on Twitter, and people, I think we have our personal favorites of us, but this bracket is deep. I mean, Kobe Fleener did not make this bracket.
Laurinaitis and Case Vaharn were final cuts. They were bubble teams that did not get in.
I was arguing with somebody before the show. He was like, where the fuck is Andres Pete? I'm like, Andres Pete's name didn't even come up. That's how deep this bracket is.
He's not even NIT worthy.
No. This bracket is loaded. But before we get to the bracket, the Saints, they don't really have any news. The only thing is Ziggy Ansah. I guess he's getting a back reevaluation or something. He probably will sign like right after we do this podcast, and I load it up. So there's
we got one question in the chat room before Kremlin Marrero has been patient, so let's drop that before we start the bracket. He just wants to know how effective we think Cook will be in our offense. Jared Cook.
I think his floor is like 55 and 600, But
I don't know if that's his floor. I think that's kind of what I expect.
So people that ask the questions, we'll try to do the questions sort of after we get through the first round of the bracket, because we have a 32-team bracket. We have 16 games to go. So I got so excited about this bracket that, and we'll do some draft stuff too after we get through the first round games. But I got so excited about this bracket. I felt like, because of everyone donating, and by the way, you should donate. You should become a patron like Dave's mom did today at the $7 level, so you can have access to all the shows. You get four extra shows. Yeah, you get 4 extra shows a week. So for $7, that's nothing, and you're gonna want our draft expertise. We got a draft capsule coming up that's fantastic. You might have seen it on the Twitters today. Armchair Media did a nice video of it for us today. But for this tournament, I felt like it was so great, and this is the most ridiculous, most stupid thing we've ever done, that we had to go over the top. So I did some preview capsules for the seed. So Andrew, read off the first bracket, the first matchup that we'll have, and then I'll do the preview capsule.
Wait, now before we do this, are you sure you're going to do 16 in one night? You might want to break this up into two things. That might take a long time.
We'll see, but but we might do 8 and 8 tonight. We'll see. We got first round, so Andrew introduced the first game.
So the top overall seed, who at least as far as the seeding is concerned right now, and we'll see how this goes. But number 1 is the Greenbrier. As worst Sean Payton move ever. It's deciding to go to the Greenbrier versus the 32 seed. So the last one in, former defensive coordinator Rob Ryan.
So people are going to have questions about the Greenbrier. So we did a package, a preview of the number 1 overall seed, and here's that preview. The Greenbrier is the Sean Payton's worst decision tournament bracket number 1 overall seed. From the moment the Saints set foot in the 5-star luxury resort in West Virginia, they became injured, soft, and entered into a 3-year twilight zone of 7-9 sadness. Local New Orleans Saints media scoffed at fans blaming the Greenbrier for the Saints' struggles from 2014 through 2016, but facts prove the media wrong. Sean Payton's won 68% of games as Saints coach when the Saints don't train in West Virginia, but only 43% when they do. Like a tourist ordering a second-hand grenade during the first trip to New Orleans, Sean Payton having the Saints train at the Greenbrier was the granddaddy of bad decisions. Yeah, I felt like that was needed because people will scoff at the Greenbrier being the number 1 overall seed. But I feel like, Dave, you could pin pretty much everything of all those 7 and 9 seasons. You can bring it back to the Greenbrier. I don't think it's outrageous for the Greenbrier to be the number 1 seed.
And it was really, even more specifically, it was purely the wallpaper in the bedrooms at the Greenbrier that the players had the wallpaper in the bedrooms that the players had to stay in. It was floral. It was weak. It made the players weak and unmotivated.
Well, you know what famous movie that was that the hallways were?
The Shining, right?
Was that The Shining?
The Shining, yep.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I forgot about that. I should have dropped in
so the place really is cursed.
I should have dropped in a sound clip of The Shining.
You should have put Rad Rom.
So
Kevin would be very disappointed to know that I've never seen The Shining before.
Oh my God. So do you even own a TV that you use that when it isn't a Saint game, Dave?
Yeah, I watch. You know what else? You know what else I don't watch that we're not going to discuss this week? I don't watch Game of Thrones.
I'm the only one on this show that watches.
I've never watched it before.
Oh wow, yeah. Good. Well, then you're outnumbered, Ralph.
Yeah, I am.
That's good. So we don't need to talk about Night Walkers and dragons and whatever the fuck else goes on in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, the Greenbrier, I feel like the fun of it was the media really disliked the fans blaming the Greenbrier for everything. And the more the media sort of pushed back against the fans, the more we dug in that the Greenbrier was the problem. And it was just so much fun, even though the seasons weren't. The training at the Greenbrier was bad. And but Andrew, you liked it because you got to go to the Greenbrier.
Yeah, I went. I mean, I got to meet all the players. I got numerous pictures with Drew Brees and my kid, and Cam Jordan and my kid, and Morstead and my kid. And at one point, I walked with Mickey Loomis for like a mile, like just chatting the whole way. I mean, it was awesome. I got to meet Sean Payton. I mean, it was like it was a dream. The untethered access I had to players at that time was crazy. If you remember, I broke the Victor Butler news that he had hurt his ankle and was in a boot.
Yeah,
and I did that from inside the hotel walls because all New Orleans media was staying elsewhere in less expensive hotels. And so,
man, if we'd had the daily podcast then, Andrew, God, we'd have got 3-4 signups off of that breaking news.
I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but the best part was that I didn't know what Victor Butler looked like And so he's walking out of there's a little Italian place, and he's coming out of the Italian place inside the hotel, and he's carrying a pizza. So he's obviously got a pizza to go. And I see him in the walking boot, and I'm like, I got to figure out who that guy is. And so I have my kid's football with me, and my kid's next to me. So I'm just like, hey, man, do you mind signing my kid's football? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So he grabs my pen and, my Sharpie, and he grabs the football, and he asked me to hold his pizza. So I'm holding Victor Butler's pizza as he signs my kid's ball. And I'm like, hey, thanks, man. And then I take a peek at the ball, and I'm like, okay, it's Victor Butler. So
man, you're a regular Woodward and Bernstein.
So he totally outed himself by signing my football. And so then, boom, I tweeted immediately as soon as I walk away. I'm like, Victor Butler is in a walking boot. And all these media guys were like, what the hell? It was amazing.
Andrew, you missed your chance to be a fantastic media member. Instead, you spend time booking bands all over the world and finding me good royalty-free music. So Dave, the number 32 and last team in the bracket, and I don't think he should be in this bracket at all. I think it's outrageous that Rob Ryan is in this bracket, but make your case that Rob Ryan is.
You're just saying that because you love the hair.
Dave, make your case that Rob Ryan was one of Sean Payton's worst decisions.
I don't have a case for that, to be honest with you, Ralph. I kind of agree with you.
Dude, in 2013, he was a motherfucking icon in the city, man.
Yeah, I mean, it ended badly. They really, but
it ended more than badly. Well, don't you remember the shouting matches on the sidelines?
Yes, I do. But still, there was a little good to go along. Still, there was a little good to go along with the bad.
And as soon as he got canned, he goes on NFL Network and he's like, "They all want to blame it on me."
I know.
For signing. It was fun though. He had fun. The first year he had fun nicknames for everybody, and it was good time.
The thing that's funny about Rob Ryan is that it was all fun and games when he joined, and everyone thought it was awesome that he was going to bars and getting loaded with fans after the games. And he was like New Orleans' Prince for a year, and that defense was good. And man, they turned on him so fast. The minute that defense started to falter, everyone was ready to burn Rob Ryan to the ground, and all goodwill was gone overnight.
I'll say this about Rob Ryan. The one thing I loved about having him is my DMs. I would get 3 DMs a week of people just tweeting me where Rob Ryan was. It wasn't even that he was out at bars. He's like, oh, he's at the grocery and he bought a case of beer and some Ben & Jerry's. And it would just be Rob Ryan out in the wild, updates.
I think Rob Ryan was a more effective hero to zero than Fred Thomas.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. So, I'm voting Greenbrier on this one. Andrew, who are you voting?
Man, the Greenbrier has a special place in my heart. I know it didn't work out for the Saints, but as Jim Gleason our friend Jim Gleason just typed in the chat, he said I called it the Dreambrier. So, I don't know. I was never a Rob Ryan fan. And, there was this whole embarrassing, we're going to be a 3-4 now. And they brought in Rob Ryan to do it. And then they gave up on it in 2 weeks and went back to the 4-3. I mean, I thought Rob Ryan was a terrible hire. And I'm picking Rob Ryan. I'm picking the upset.
Dave, you break the tie.
What? You're picking Rob Ryan over the Greenbrier? Come on, man. The Greenbrier for sure is winning.
All right. So our next matchup is the Hauser Pyramid Scheme and Vicodin Gate, and I also have a preview of an explanation of the Hauser Pyramid Scheme. Kevin Hauser's Pyramid Scheme is the Sean Payton's Worst Decision tournament bracket, number 16 overall seed. Sean Payton's decision to invest in Hauser's tax scheme cost the coach a cool $144,000. Tax credits in Louisiana as an investment What could possibly go wrong? Payton should have just taken that $144,000 and set it on fire. Payton did at least get the last laugh on Kevin Hauser by cutting the long snapper.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
So, Kevin Hauser, Pyramid Scheme versus number 17, Vicodin Gate. This one's a hard call, Dave. I'm going to let you make the first call, make the first vote on this one. I got to think about this one for a bit.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We might want to recap it. I mean, it's been so long.
Yeah.
I remember at the time. I remember with Vicodin Gate. I remember I was really into it, and I think I read the entire lawsuit that was filed. If you remember, it was filed by Jeffrey Santini, who was his head of security for the team at the time, and he wound up leaving or whatever, and filed a lawsuit saying that Sean Payton made him do things that would be illegal regarding Vicodin and all that kind of stuff. So
I thought that was going to sink them. I really did, because I did too. I had the late Kenny Wilkerson, and I had other people that I knew. They were like, "This is serious. They know they fucked up. The FBI and stuff is going to come and get them." And I was like, "Oh man, this is going to take it all down." But it just sort of like piffed and went away. Like it never really took hold.
But wasn't Joe Vitt skimming off the top more than Sean Payton?
Yeah.
He was involved. He was definitely involved too.
He was definitely involved. And I think the Saints paid like a $300,000 fine, but like it never really went as far.
Man, for $300,000, you could have gone a couple blocks from the stadium and gotten all the Vicodin you wanted.
I know, right? So that was Vicodin. The Hauser, it was just they bought movie tax credits because Louisiana gives tax breaks to the film industry. They bought the tax breaks, and the guy who they gave the money to file the paperwork to buy the tax breaks, he never did it. And so it all went kaput. And Payton and Breeze and Hauser and like 3 or 4 other players and an assistant coach, like they all lost a shit ton of money. And Sean Payton was like, we didn't cut Hauser because of that, but they totally cut Hauser because of that. Like he had to get up out of there. It's one thing to defraud. To do either Breeze or Payton probably would have gotten him cut, but to do both, like I'm surprised he didn't end up at the bottom of Lake Pontchartrain. So Dave, who you got in this?
The Hauser pyramid scheme. I don't know. How are we? What are we supposed to be using to make our decision?
It's up to you. It's personal.
Whatever we want.
It's called worst Sean Payton move. So what's the worst move? Stealing Vicodin or investing in a Ponzi scheme?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I would say, the Hauser thing, was nowhere near as big of a deal as Vicodin Gate, and like Ralph said at the time, I thought that was going to be a much bigger deal than it was. They did a very good job of making that go away and moving past that pretty quickly. But I would say Vicodin Gate is way bigger.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let Ralph be the tiebreaker here, because Vicodin, like NFL coaches and players, that's a story as old as time. Like everybody abuses pills. Like that's just that's such a standard token run of the mill thing that happens in America. Opiate abuse, big deal. We see that everywhere. But the Hauser Ponzi, the scheme was just so ridiculous. It involved these tax credits, and it was this long snapper who was barely even on the roster, that barely even talked to people, and somehow a special teamer who, the long snapper is on the same wavelength as the kicker and the punter, right? No one talks to him, and somehow he had convinced everyone that this was some great investment, and he's a CPA and he knows what he's talking about, and he got half the team that half the team was suing him for all these tax credits that they ended up never seeing back. So to me, that story, I mean, Vicodin Gate is maybe worse, but I like the Hauser pyramid scheme, and that's my vote because it's just so much more ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote the pyramid scheme as well. The thing that I think the Saints got lucky is Vicodin Gate happened before sort of the America is addicted to opioids, it's a serious crisis, and football players are abusing their body and concussions and all that. Vicodin Gate sort of happened before all that took center stage. I feel like if that had happened now, ESPN, Outside the Lines, and Sports Illustrated, and the New York Times, they all would have descended on New Orleans about that story and really would have got to the bottom of it. But it just sort of passed in the night because it just wasn't the right time. So, and the Hauser pyramid.
Make no mistake, that could have sunk him, though. Absolutely.
It just he really caught a break, and
He
it was
lucky,
sort of like the opposite of Bounty Gate in a sense of Bounty Gate wasn't as bad. You know, you could argue Bounty Gate wasn't nearly as bad as Vicodin Gate, but Bounty Gate caught the Saints at the worst time where Goodell was looking to send a message and do all kinds of things. So it really, the Saints, it caught him at the wrong time. So the next round, Dave, I'm going to let you start this one off. Or should we let Dave have the tiebreaker on this, Andrew? Because it's number 9, Nick Fairley extension versus number 24, CJ Spiller. Dave, do you want to lead off?
We know where Dave's going.
Dave, you need to lead off on this.
You're skipping one. You're skipping a bracket, but
I am. You're right. I did. Number 8.
Let's go with Fairley and Spiller.
Yeah, we can still do this one. The CJ Spiller thing was disappointing. But you know what? I was there, obviously, in the Dome, overtime against Dallas. I think he took it like 80 yards, 85 yards, whatever it was, on a screen pass or something like that. Took it to the house, won the game.
It was a wheel route.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, right. A wheel route. That's right. That's right. And so, honestly, that it was all worth it for that. The rest was lagniappe as far as Spiller was concerned, and there was no lagniappe. But anyway, the rest would have been lagniappe.
Before you finish, Dave, will you at least admit that Nick Fairley as a Saint was way better than CJ Spiller? Not even close.
Of course, Nick Fairley had an incredible season.
Okay. Now that you're willing to admit that, continue.
I was always willing to admit that. That was my gripe with it. I think they should have just, taken it and run. They should have just said, yes, we got one good season of Nick Fairley. Let's take our money and run. Let's quit while we're ahead. But they didn't. They paid him, and then of course, obviously, they found out he had a heart condition and he has to retire from football. Now, obviously, at the time, I didn't want the Saints to pay him because I knew he had a heart condition. I didn't want him to pay him because I thought he was going to get lazy and just loaf for the next 2 years or whatever. But either way, if they had
right is right, baby.
That's right. Either way, if they had just listened to me, then they would have saved all that money. So obviously, I'm going with Nick Fairley in this one.
I'm going to go CJ Spiller. Man, Nick Fairley was bad doctors with the Saints or whatever. But CJ Spiller, man, they could have got another player with him. At least Nick Fairley had shown a track record of success. When the Saints signed CJ Spiller, they knew that he was an injury-prone running back and his best years were behind him. And he had been injured all the time. Like, he was a huge risk, and they whiffed on that. I go C.J. Spiller, in spite of the fact that Sunday night touchdown was magical. I'm still going C.J. Spiller. Andrew, you're breaking the tie.
Well, first of all, there's no way I can let Nick Fairley end here. I mean, that would just be grossly unfair to Dave, and I feel like I'm Dave's friend, and I gotta stand by him, and. His poor little heart, I just can't do that to him this early in the tournament.
Wait, my heart or Nick Fairley's heart?
Well, good point. CJ Spiller was terrible, and the thing that bumps me about Spiller was that it was him and Reggie Bush, and they kind of wanted Spiller, and who knows how Reggie Bush probably would have been the same level of terrible, but it would have been fun to have him back. But I just feel like the Spiller thing, like, yeah, it was a bummer, but the Saints were kind of okay at running back without him. Like, they still had Ingram, and they still were able to kind of figure it out. Like, they did not need – Spiller didn't sink the offense. Nick Fairley – like, you could argue that the Nick Fairley situation was as bad as the Junior Galette situation, purely financially, because of the dead money they had to eat. And you immediately sign a contract, and boom, like, you can't use that money. It's immediately dead money, and it's basically lighting your cap on fire is what that deal was.
We have more of the lighting the cap on fire later in the bracket.
Yeah, so I'm going with Nick Fairley.
All right, so I skipped over the 8-25 matchup. The 8 seed is Ducks in a Row email. The 25 seed is Garrett Grayson. For people that don't remember or don't realize, the Ducks in a Row email was really the thing that Goodell sort of hammered on Sean Payton over the head was, hey, because Tom Benson, when the NFL came investigating Bountygate, Tom Benson was like, yeah, take all the emails you want, look through it all. So the NFL literally had all the Saints servers and access to every fucking email they sent. And when they found out that the NFL was looking into it, Sean Payton apparently sent an email that said, get our ducks in a row. And Goodell used this against him, was like, this is you planning to lie to us and hide everything. And this proves your guilt, which I always looked at it. I mean, obviously you don't see the email, but I hear people say that all the time at work, and I think it's nefarious because I think of the Saints, but it's really not. Like, if you say, hey, I'm getting the ducks in the row for the podcast tonight, guys, like, it could be not nefarious. Garrett Grayson.
Absolutely. You're not even going to move on to Garrett Grayson because, Ralph, I think you nailed it. There is nothing. There's nothing incriminating about using the term ducks in a row. There's absolutely nothing incriminating. That you could use that for in a positive manner just as easily as you could like you said, in a nefarious manner.
So, but that was kind of the smoking gun, at least in terms of.
Well, it's a shitty smoking gun.
In Roger Goodell's eyes.
It's hard, right? It's not a smoking gun, but to Roger
Burner
Goodell's
phone, Sean. Burner phone, man. Always. Here's the thing about Garrett Grayson, Andrew, and we might
tell that to Will Wade.
Yeah, the thing, and we move ducks in a row, we'll move it along. But I think the one thing about Garrett Grayson that sort of hurts him in this bracket, if you want to say hurts him and get him eliminated in the first round, is because Garrett Grayson never played, and we never got to experience his true awfulness in a game that mattered. We don't view him as a colossal, huge mistake. He's just like, oh yeah, they drafted him in the third round. He was a miss at quarterback. It's no big deal. But if like Breeze
had traded up, did they trade up for him?
No, they didn't. They didn't trade up for him. But he was the pick that they. I think he was one of the. I think he might have been the pick they used when they traded Kenny Stills. Him or P.J. Williams. One of them was the third round pick that they used when they traded Kenny Stills. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if Garrett Grayson had played for 3 weeks in games that mattered and been atrocious, I think we'd remember him much worse than we do.
He was bad in preseason.
He was pretty bad.
Oh, he was bad. Luke McCown took him to school for that backup job.
So, is it unanimous? Ducks in a row moves along.
No. My vote is for Garrett Grayson. Now, it might not be enough to get him to move on to the next round, but I just, just because Roger Goodell is a fucking moron and thought that that Payton saying ducks in a row is his smoking gun to prove an entire scheme of pay for play or Bountygate, whatever. That's on Goodell. That's not on Payton. So Garrett Grayson's drafting is totally on Payton, so I say Grayson.
All right, so ducks in a row moves on. So the next one is.
Well, hold on, I didn't vote yet.
Okay,
are you voting for ducks in a row?
He apparently thinks we're all voting for ducks in a row.
I thought we are, but we're not. So it's split. So Andrew, you decide this one. Go.
The thing about Garrett Grayson is, I just feel like. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but like they wouldn't have had to pick up Bridgewater and dealt with this whole Taysom Hill thing if Garrett Grayson had been good. He was supposed to be the quarterback of the future. Now, are you really going to get your quarterback of the future in the third round? Yeah, I mean, I think these are both kind of flimsy because one is just a bad third round pick. And you guys, like ducks in a row, I thought was going to be my vote for sure. But you guys kind of convinced me that it's not that big of a deal. And it's kind of unfair. But
Ooh, we're going to have an upset?
No, I'm going ducks in a row because Dave's right. It's like it's BS, but it was like the dagger in Sean Payton's heart. So like it was a poor choice of words because that's what Goodell chose to go with. So yeah, I'm going ducks in a row.
So our 4 seed in this tournament is Brandon Browner versus 29 Kyrie Fort. And let me just say, they had about 4 people on Twitter. And they were fucking ridiculous, telling us Brandon Browner was not a bust for the Saints.
Oh, my God.
And they were going with cap numbers and whatever. Not Brandon Browner was a fucking disaster for the Saints at corner. I don't care if they paid him $1. He was horrible. His highlight was tackling other Saints. He had 2 highlights: tackling other Saints players on the field, and he wanted to murder Lions McKelvin.
You mean Lions yelling?
Yeah, Lions yelling for Channel 4. Like, those were his 2 highlights.
Whatever happened to him? Where'd he go?
I don't know. He just disappeared. But Kyrie Fort, Andrew.
You need to Google that.
Kyrie Fort.
He was the narcoleptic.
He fell asleep in meetings. So
he had
this
he had Epstein-Barr.
This is tough, man. I mean, if Browner was terrible, Dave, but when you draft a linebacker in the 4th round and he falls asleep in meetings, that's
that's the question. What's worse, contributing but being terrible at it, or not even being good enough to contribute? That's the main question here that we're dealing with. I mean, jeez, I'm
Kyrie
thinking,
Fort did go on. He did go to be on the show Scandalous, which is a Discovery investigation murder reenactment show. He did go on to play a murderer in that show, so his post-football career might be on the upswing. Brandon Browner is in jail.
So he was a fakey Brandon Browner.
He was a fake Brandon Browner, but Brandon Browner's actually in jail. So if that sort of swings you post-career, it's tough.
I guess I think didn't Browner set the record for most penalties in a season?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest disaster I've ever heard of.
I'm glad we made the Kyrie Fort sleeping joke, but can we just make this a clean sweep for Browner, please?
Yeah, Browner.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, this one is going to be hard. 13 seed allowing Mike Cirillo in the building versus the 20 seed Champ
By the
Bailey.
way, there's another Italian in our bracket.
Yeah. So I can play this. I mean,
Dave's offended.
I think Cirillo he's got to move along. I mean, that you talk about bad decisions. That dude was a liar from the jump, and he was the snitch for Bountygate. Like, I mean, I know Champ Bailey was bad, and he stole $500,000 of Tom Benson's money because he was so terrible and washed up.
Wasn't it $5 million?
What's that?
Wasn't it $5 million?
No, but he got $500,000 signing bonus, right? Like the rest of it wasn't guaranteed, but he was terrible and washed. But I mean, Cirillo, he was the beginning of what turned in. He was the spark that burned 2012 to the ground. So
yeah. So 2 things. I got a little story for about Champ Bailey. So when I was at the Greenbrier, there's a little kid store in there, and he's in there, and he was also in a boot. And he was with his kid, and his kid was an animal. I mean, just like an animal in the toy store, just running from toy to toy, throwing them on the ground. He was getting so pissed, and he'd be like, "Man, come on," like trying to get him to get in line. And then my son's
was the
there.
kid?
He was like 4, he's 3 or 4, and my son is the same age and at the time, and my son's behaving, and Champ Bailey just looks at me. Same thing. I go up to him, get him to sign my ball. Hey, thanks, man. He looks at me. He's like, "Man, how do you get your son to behave? How do you get your son to behave in this place?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like, his kid is in the background going nuts. And so then I mentioned his foot. I'm like, "Hey, man, sorry about the boot." And he's like, yeah. He's like, he said, I was really worried. It was really bad like a week ago. But I'm healing really fast, and it's actually much better than I thought it was going to be. So it's really good. So he told me that snippet, and I was like, "That's cool." And I just made the comment, like, it's just training camp. As long as you're good to go for week 1, that's all that matters. And he kind of looks at me, and he's like, "Yeah, exactly." And well,
Nope.
he got healthy in time for week 1, and that wasn't good enough because they cut him.
Nope.
Yeah, but Cirillo, I feel like Ralph for the next. So we need to let him get through, because you need to come prepared, I think, with the Joe Vitt testimony on Cirillo, where he just completely eviscerates him. Because I think for comedy, just like reading that testimony would just be.
I wonder if I could find audio of that.
Great comedy.
If somebody listening to the show in the live stream or listening to the show later, if you have the audio of Joe Vitt outside the courthouse, if you could point me to that, and I'm gonna search for it. But if you could point me to a link to that, DM me that on Twitter, and I will make that for us next week, because I'll have the time. Jim Gleason in the chat, by the way, he called Garrett Grayson the modern day Mike Buck. I like that. I don't know, man. Mike Buck had that one sweet trick play on a Sunday night.
Mike Buck threw an NFL pass.
Yeah.
Garrett Grayson can't say as much.
So, are we agreed Cirillo goes through?
Yes,
I'm voting
agreed.
Cirillo.
Okay,
yep.
Dave. This is a strong matchup. This bracket is just loaded. The number 5 seed, the Junior Galette extension, Dave, versus the 28 seed, Stanley Arno / Chip Vaughn, Wake Forest poo-poo platter combo. Who you got, Dave?
Does it come with the fire on the top that you can grill?
Oh, there was no fire with these. No.
These guys. Now refresh my. Were they drafted in the same round?
Same draft.
No, but the same round.
Back to back. Yep.
Back to back picks.
Yeah.
That's
not back to back and like back to back Saints picks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were pretty terrible. They really didn't work out. I remember that. What was that, like 2007, 2008? What year was that?
08, I think.
The Junior Galette extension. Obviously, the money is one thing. They had to pay Galette a whole bunch of money to cut his ass. But I mean, he
cut the check, Mickey.
He was right. That's right. Remember that? And let's not forget my role in this, making sure that we identified Junior Galette.
Yes, I was gonna say you got social media famous, man.
Yes,
this made you a made guy.
That's right. Let's not forget that I was the one who visually confirmed that Junior Galette and his cronies were the guys in the Belt Beach video. That was like one of Canal Street Chronicles' like highest traffic days ever for sure. But I mean the whole Galette was just toxic. The locker room, it was a disaster. You got to definitely go with Galette. Just on the money alone. The money alone was a disaster.
Yeah, that was a 2009 draft, Andrew.
Wow.
They picked Chip Vaughn 116 and then Stanley Arno 118. Same round.
So it was 2 picks
in the 4th round.
Yeah, I knew it. That's what I was saying. Yep, I knew it was in the same round. They were like,
I just don't like the thing that pisses me off so much about that.
From that powerhouse Wake Forest, of course.
Yeah. Like, first of all, like, what would possess Sean Payton to think like my defense is bad? I gotta find a way to turn it around. I'm gonna look to Wake Forest. to be my saving grace. It's my ace in the hole. I'm going to Wake Forest.
Hell is the world coming to?
It's like drafting two guys from Tulane. Back to
Yeah,
back.
exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but at
pluck
least for
two
Tulane,
guys.
would be like, at least Tulane would have been like, that's cool. They're local.
And the worst part,
Yeah, exactly.
like Chip Vaughn and Arno were both useless NFL players. And to make matters worse, Arno was like on IR when the Saints won the Super Bowl. So he got a Super Bowl ring, and then he lost it.
That's right. I remember that. Didn't
People,
what was
Like,
it? He left it in his car?
you know what? I know
thought he left it in his cup holder in his car or something.
I know Galette's going to advance, and so Galette needs to advance. I know you're both going to pick them, so I'm picking the Wake Forest combo because the more I talk about it, the more angry I get, and God damn it, I'm not letting it be a clean sweep.
I mean, yeah, the joke, the temptation of the jokes that we can make as they move forward, it tempts me. But the Junior Galette, like I was arguing with people on Twitter today, they're like, the Junior Galette extension really shouldn't be there because if the Saints wouldn't have cut him, he would have been fine. I'm like, yeah, but if I can make that argument, anybody in this bracket, like if C.J. Spiller had been healthy, if Nick Fairley, if his heart didn't give out, like then they wouldn't be in this bracket. But it happened, so like he's there, and like he was like a neutron bomb on their cap. Like,
Well, let's not forget Galette's body went full Cam Cleveland after the Saints cut him.
yeah, it did. Actually, before, right? Didn't he blow out the Achilles technically before they cut him? Maybe not.
No, he blew it both of them in D.C. I think he had a knee thing in New Orleans.
So Galette goes through. Let's go to the 12 seed. This is a strong. This one's strong. The 12 seed, Dave, they cut Mike Kearney on his wedding day. That's what Sean Payton did. Number 21 seed, TMZ video of Sean Payton grinding in the Bahamas. I will say this, and John Oliver, big supporter of the show, patron, he made a good point, I think. And is Sean Payton grinding in the Bahamas? Is that really a bad decision? And I kind of lean that way. So I don't know, but Andrew, cutting Mike Kearney on his wedding day, I mean, that's
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, the TMZ thing. Hopefully, Sean Payton's kids don't listen to this podcast because I mean, that was like in the middle of his divorce right afterwards, and I'm sure that was painful for his kids to see their dad on TMZ grinding, and he's wearing an awful Hawaiian shirt, and it was a bad look. So, I think it was a bad move just because I'm sure that was bad optics with his family. But yeah, I mean, first of all, Mike Kearney was a great Saint. One of Deuce McAllister's best friends, big friend of the show. He's come on,
yes, he has
multiple times. I mean, great dude. I text with him, and in fact, I'm gonna have to let him know that he's in this tournament because he'll get a kick out of it. And he's told me since like it's water under the bridge, and I think he recently met with Sean Payton. I guess this was 2 years ago, and I think they were trying to kind of bury the hatchet. But, I think, Mike would never say this because he's super positive, but I still think it hurts him, just to think about like.
Here's the thing, didn't Sean Payton know that it would couldn't they have waited at least a day?
Well, I'm sure.
Was it worse when you're on your honeymoon?
I thought about this, and if they make the decision, we're parting ways with Kearney, which is always a difficult thing because he was a good player and he cared a lot, and he was a guy that meant a lot just to guys in the locker room and everything. But I think when you make the decision you're going to cut a player, it's never good, right? And so you cut him. You can't cut him before his wedding, That's even worse, right? If you cut him the day before his wedding, because then he's bringing that baggage into the wedding, and then if you cut him on his wedding day, maybe he doesn't find out, and then the day after he gets married, you cut him on the first day of his honeymoon. I don't know, or that whole week he's on his honeymoon, and so I don't know. I think if you were to ask Sean Payton, he would say there was no good time to do it, and at least on his wedding day, he might not notice until after. I don't know, but Yeah, I mean, that's so messed up. And I love Kearney too. So to me, that's like, that makes it worse. But, the TMZ grinding thing in the Bahamas, like, once again, like, only Sean Payton, like, this doesn't happen to other coaches.
No, it doesn't.
It's amazing.
I should have had a song. Shaggy
If
playing in
only
the back.
there was a video of Andy Reid grinding in the Bahamas.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just want to stop for a second and take stock that, like, we're halfway through the first round, and we've already brought up an investment in a pyramid scheme. We've already brought up the abuse of Vicodin. We've already brought up an email basically telling everyone to delete their emails because, investigators are about to read them. And we've
also
got
signing a player who committed the most penalties in an NFL season.
And then grinding on vacation and having TMZ videotape it and cutting a dude on his wedding. I mean, holy cow.
I gotta go cut Kearney on his wedding day for this. That's gotta go through for me.
Yeah, I'm going with Kearney for sure.
Do you guys think this cutting Kearney on his wedding day like has a shot at?
By the way, this was my one contribution. That was the one that I texted out, and I was like, "Wait, you guys forgot about this one." That was the one that I contributed. So I feel a certain kinship to this particular. So I may,
it's a little dark horse, don't you think?
I may either subconsciously or consciously, push it further along than maybe it deserves to be. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
It's a tough bracket.
These round 2 matchups, by the way, like I'm just
kind of a dick move. It's kind of a dick move to cut a player off.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
All right, we're not doing the whole first round, right? Because we're now 48 minutes into this here.
We're gonna do 2 more, I think, and then we'll get out of here. Or are we halfway done with the bracket?
We are halfway done with the first round.
We'll do. Should we do one more, or should we? No, we'll do the second half. We'll do the second half next week. Because I want to get to at least a little bit of draft stuff.
Yeah.
And
Andrew, why are we even starting?
I just want to tease what you have to look forward to next week. We've got Jarris Bird, we've got Olin Kreutz, we've got Delvin Breaux's leg situation, we've got Steve Spagnuolo, we've got the friendship with Mike Ornstein, everybody's favorite left tackle Charles Brown. We've got the Xbox Kid movie script.
Xbox Kid movie's weird because people don't know about. I have a lot of people like, what the fuck?
I didn't know about it.
You didn't?
Yeah, I just learned about it before this tournament. And then we got everyone's favorite corners, Jason David and Stanley Jean-Baptiste. So lots of stuff to.
God, Jason David, he's got to be up there, man. God, he's got to be like a semifinalist at least.
He's a 6 seed, man. He's not even
I know. Well, he's got to be a semifinalist.
I mean, this bracket is loaded.
Those were some years, man.
So Andrew, how many questions do we have in the chat room before I play the draft capsule for the week?
Well, this is more of a comment, but Chad Prue said, I thought Grayson was going to be all-pro. I'm not wrong often, but I was on that account. He threw a beautiful ball at Colorado State. Who knew he couldn't call a play?
Yeah. All right, before we
Did we
get
get questions on Twitter?
Yeah, we got a couple questions. But before I get to questions and before I get to the draft preview, I'd like to take a second to introduce our newest friends from SeatGeek. Let them take the confusion out of your ticket buying experience. Instead of shopping dozens of sites to find the best deal, let SeatGeek do the work for you. Their app scans the web for the best deals to your favorite game, concert, or show and rates them on a scale of 0 to 10 to let you know if you are getting the best bang for your buck. A green dot mark is a great deal, yellow dot good, red dot not so good deal. Use the promo code ACAA at checkout to receive $20 off your first purchase. That's 2 free beers at the stadium on them. What are you waiting for? The promo code ACAA for $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
Have we made the big time? We got a real sponsor like SeatGeek?
We do. We're practically.
Holy shit.
Between that and your mom giving me your inheritance, it's been a fantastic Monday.
So let me So let me get this straight. So my mother is now committed to paying $7 every month to us?
No, well, she's $5, and I think I might. She's $5,
$5.
so she's in the patron. I might rig.
She's gonna get a. Does she get a koozie and a shirt?
She gets
Do
a
I have to
koozie if
mail
she
my
put.
mother a koozie and
If
a
she
shirt?
put in her
I'm gonna
address, she
die
would.
if I go-
Maybe just hand deliver it.
If I go home, the next time I go home with my family to New York, and she just whips out a Diet Coke and slides it into a Saints Happy Hour podcast koozie.
So she gets a koozie, but I was just thinking at the $5 level, she is entered into the patron spotlight sweepstakes where she could win the drawing, and I could interview her and ask her all sorts of embarrassing questions about Dave. That might be against like proper regulations, but I think I could rig it to where she would win.
Yeah, rig it. I think our listeners want this to happen.
I think they do.
We want a show with Ralph and Dave's mom. Make it happen. Rig it. Do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just another reason why. But seriously, Dave's mom will be in the patron spotlight. But after we rig that drawing for next month,
wait, can you do a drunk history with her?
drunk history from Dave's childhood. So become a patron.
My mother doesn't remember anything about my childhood, apparently.
Become a patron, and like Dave's mother, you could be in the patron spotlight. You can get 4 podcasts a week. You get a free beer koozie if you are on Patreon by May 1st.
Dave's mom.
Dave's mom.
My wife.
So we have the draft spotlights that we did. We did Irv Smith last week. This week we have David Sills of West Virginia. If you caught it, go to our Facebook page. Armchair Media was nice enough to do a video version of this. But because of all you guys' donations and support for the podcast, we were able to send Andrew around the country to talk to scouts and to talk to people, and he got people to give him information that other draft analysts just don't have. So here's the preview. David Sills of West Virginia. This week in the Saints Happy Hour Draft Day Spotlight is David Sills of West Virginia. The 6'4", 217-pound wide receiver potentially fills Saints fans' glaring need to buy the jersey of a gangly white dude. Sills could sell more Saints jerseys to middle-aged white guys than Jeremy Shockey circa 2009. Sills failed as a quarterback throwing passes, but hopes to thrive catching them in the NFL. His football IQ and temperament has been questioned by teams, but one NFC scout told Saints Happy Hour podcast that's not a concern.
All right, hey, listen, this has to be offered, okay? I don't want you naming me as a source, but listen, Sills partying and drinking in West Virginia is totally not a big deal. I love this kid. Have you ever been to Morgantown? That place is the worst. What the fuck else are you going to do? What are you going to do there besides party and pound natty life? The way I see it, burning a couch after a Mountaineer win, it shows he's a great leader, a great teammate. I mean, I want the kind of guys that burn couches after big wins in that god-awful town, okay? If you can burn a couch, you can burn a secondary, give me that guy.
Sills' potential for pyrotechnics on and off the field give him a Saints Happy Hour Draft Day on fire score of 9.1. This has been the Saints Happy Hour Draft Day Spotlight. You see,
why is that song familiar?
It's the Airwolf theme song.
That's right.
I feel like you got to end that with the air horn.
Oh yeah, all draft spotlights need to be starting with the air horn too.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like that? You think I should start with the air horn and not the ESPN draft chime?
No, I like the ESPN draft chime.
Yeah, I do.
Solid.
I don't understand why we're not doing the air horns every 5 minutes.
I like how Andrew said
every time we pick a winner in the bracket, there should be air horns.
So we got. I'm gonna read. I got the Twitter questions, Andrew. We'll go through those, and then you can do the questions in the chat room, and then we'll get out of here. So,
Okay.
Dylan asks, who will have a better statistical year, Mark Ingram or Latavius Murray? Dave, since Mark Ingram's your boyfriend, who you got? Mark Ingram or Latavius Murray to have a better year?
I mean, Latavius Murray is going to be at best. He's going to be, 1A and 1B with Kamara at best. And I think Andrew said it last week. I don't really see that. I think it's definitely now Kamara is 1 and Murray is 2. In Baltimore, I mean, Ingram is the guy. That's why they brought him in there. He's going to
He might get 400 carries this year.
Yeah, he's going to be numero uno. And they're a run-heavy offense, so you got to go with Mark Ingram for sure.
This is a good
Especially
question.
with Lamar Jackson. They're only going to run the ball more, man.
Yeah, this is a good question from Dylan too, Andrew. Cam Jordan
Is this Dylan? Is this the weather guy?
This is the weather guy.
Federico.
I don't understand why we've never discussed how these questions are coming from an on-air weather talent. I feel like is there like some sort of like YouTube bloopers of his bloopers like on air that we could like find?
Isn't he a storm chaser too? There's probably some like crazy tornado videos.
We need to be exploiting this, people. Jesus Christ. Do I have to do everything?
He says
I already gave you the Mike Kearney getting cut on the wedding day. What else do I have to give you people?
And your inheritance.
That's right. Mother. And I brought to you my mother.
True. So Andrew, he says Cam Jordan is turning 30 and may start to regress soon. What is his trade value, and should we trade him for draft picks next Thursday?
No, God, no. Absolutely not. We finally got this defense playing some decent ball. We can't go backwards. But, I'm hopeful that he will age gracefully. And I say that because, man, you look at these pass rushers and Julius Peppers and John Abraham, Dwight Freeney, Terrell Suggs. I mean, you look at all these guys, man, they're still 38. A lot of them are older than 38.
Cameron
and they're still
Wake is freaking 40.
Yeah, and they're still getting like 8 sacks a year, 10 sacks a year. And so, I see no reason why Cam Jordan can't keep this going. I mean, he's been healthy. I mean, he's been dinged here and there, but he's been kind of the marathon man. He hasn't really had missed games, He's been able to play through stuff. So, obviously, you know how football is. It can all change very quickly, but I'm hopeful that Jordan will be one of those guys. Well, he'll be 34, and we'll be wondering, like, man, he really hasn't declined, and he wants to get paid again. Do we do it? Because he's 34, but he hasn't shown signs of declining. So I expect him to be good for 3 or 4 more years, if not more.
So what's the questions in the chat room that we got?
None. Yeah, we've got Jason DeJong. He just said that he's got a fever, and the only cure is a bit more air horn. I'm glad to make you feel better. Also, Jim Gleason, our buddy, asked, what percentage chance do we have to pick up Ansah? If you had to give it a percentage chance.
I'm going to say 65%. Like, I just feel like he's not going to get any offers from anybody else because his shoulder is fucking wrecked. And he's
So why do you want us to be the team that's stupid enough to do it?
Because
to give
he's not
him an offer? I don't get it.
Like, he's not, but it's not, Dave, it's not going to be anything. It's going to be like Okafor 2 years ago. It's going to be like 1 year.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 1 year, it's going to be like 1 year, $2 million with like $250,000 bonus, and like, they'll say it's $5 million, but that'll just be for like every week he's active, he gets $80,000 or something. Like, it'll be nothing. Like, it's just going to be a lot. It's just going to be a lottery ticket.
Well, also your starters are Jordan and Davenport, so you don't need him to come in and start. You just need him to come in and play on third down and get a sack here and there.
Yeah,
he can do that.
I don't know. There's a lot of other teams that could just use a little bit of extra depth. And they could easily just assign him and on a 1 year whatever deal. But
wouldn't they have done that already?
Okay, and they haven't. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, to
Hey,
me,
the Saints don't have as many draft picks as other teams. That's why I feel like they got to go get Ansah, because they're not going to get a
that's
pass
a good
rusher
point.
like that in the draft.
That's definitely true.
So
what about Russell Wilson? You gonna get Russell Wilson?
That's a great discussion for next week. If Russell Wilson, if his contract, I didn't want to talk about it tonight, and I didn't want to do a podcast for me and Andrew to record it today, because basically his deadline is like midnight tonight. If he doesn't sign with Seattle, he's not doing an extension. They're not negotiating any further. But that's a really interesting discussion.
Franchise him.
They could, but I mean, it becomes difficult then, because the franchise tag for a quarterback is insane, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes real interesting, because the thing is, I think Russell Wilson's amazing, and he's a top 5-6 quarterback, and a lot of fans don't view him that way. So if Seattle's decided to trade him, it would be really interesting to see. I think teams would stampede to try to get him, but I think fans are kind of lukewarm on him, because I don't think Seattle maximizes him. But he's an interesting one. But
Ralph and I are going to have a 7-minute of Saints where we talk about what we would give up for Russell Wilson.
Well, I got a question right now. Would you give up the rest of the 2019 draft to get Russell Wilson?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I would give up the rest of the draft, and I would drive Teddy Bridgewater to his preferred trade destination to get Russell Wilson. Jesus Christ. So
we do have another question. It's kind of a 2-part question from Ninja Coordinator in the chat. He asks, how boring but awesome are the top offensive line draft picks that are likely going to be for our second-round pick? And then he also asks, is the drafting of a receiver a sign of no confidence in our existing receiving core? The second question first, I'll answer that one, and I'll let you guys answer the offensive line one. For me, I don't think it's that they have no confidence in our existing receiving core. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that could work out. You got Kirkwood, you've got Ginn, you've got Meredith, you've got Traquan Smith, and I think any of those guys could work out and have a good season. But I just feel like at receiver, we really don't know which ones of those guys will be productive. And because of that, I think the more guys you have in training camp, the more you have a chance of several guys panning out. So I think it's like the whole thing is throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
All right.
I would not view it as like an indictment of the receiving core. I think they're not sure. So
this is a tease for Ninja Coordinator. This is a tease for you, because I know you are a patron, but for people to become a patron also, is we have Draft Spotlight for one of the top offensive linemen that may or may not be there at 62 for the Saints, Ford from Oklahoma. Andrew got some amazing insider information when we sent him to Norman, Oklahoma for a weekend. And you'll hear that spotlight later in this week if you're a patron first. So become a patron, and you'll get that insider information. And if you don't believe that Andrew gets inside information, he broke the Victor Butler story at the Greenbrier. So, I mean, it's a fact that we have draft information that no one else has. So thanks to everybody for listening on the live stream. It was successful again. I think that's 4 out of 5 weeks. So it hasn't been a complete disaster. So that's a positive, right, guys? And also too, did you like my third grade collage that I did for the live stream graphic? That people see with the Greenbrier and Brandon Browner and Jarrett Bird.
It looks like a GeoCities website.
It really does. It really does. That's a great call.
The thing is, I'm colorblind, so I looked on the internet to what is the HTML code for Saints Gold, and since I'm colorblind, I just got the code and punched it in, and I don't know if it actually looks the background.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, the gold is fine.
Yeah, the rest of it is not.
Well, it's just pretty terrible.
What do you people want, man? Dave, I got the live stream working. I got the soundboard working. Audio doesn't sound like I'm talking out of a hole. I can't do all of that and graphics. That's just too much to ask.
Just give him one more air horn and he'll be good.
All right. So for Dave, for Andrew, and for Kevin, who's MIA, until next week, the bar is closed.